I think you're going to find this interesting. I've talked to you before about the important distinction between a TV lawyer and a courtroom lawyer. For a while now, we have been referring to Rudy Giuliani as Donald Trump's television lawyer. For a long time, he goes on TV and he represents Donald Trump, but he defends Trump in a way that's different than what you would see in a courtroom. Many of the things that a TV lawyer can say are different than what an actual courtroom lawyer would say. You can't make the same claims in front of a judge that you would potentially be making on television. These two worlds collided and exploded in dramatic fashion this week because it was announced on Sunday or Monday that Rudy would be representing Donald Trump in court in Pennsylvania in one of these completely bogus voter fraud cases. And Rudy Giuliani actually was going to be expected to behave the way a courtroom lawyer behaves rather than a television lawyer. And what's just fascinating about that is that when Rudy Giuliani was directly pressed by the judge in Pennsylvania about whether he is actually alleging that voter fraud took place, Rudy Giuliani said, I am not alleging that. It's so important to understand this because it's not just Rudy Giuliani this has happened with. Numerous Trump lawyers in court in filing these various briefs and motions and complaints, when they've been asked, are you alleging actual voter fraud? They all say no. And it's just perfect because Rudy went in with all sorts of vague claims that left-leaning counties conspired to hurt Donald Trump. Well, hold on. Whoa. What does that actually mean happened, though? He went in with claims that absentee voting was unfairly administered in some counties versus others. But when it came down to it, he was asked, are you alleging fraud in court? And Rudy said, no, Your Honor, we are not. And then he went on to say, well, we believe the process was fraudulent, which is kind of a distinction without a difference, but it's still relevant. Rudy, when put in front of a judge, rather than in front of Judge Jeanine Pirro on Fox News, who's just a TV host, in front of an actual judge in a court of law, he can't actually say we are alleging specific fraud. Instead, he says we believe the process was generally fraudulent and led to, I guess, what he sees as the wrong results, which is that Donald Trump lost. This is the final confirmation we needed that even they know when they allege fraud took place in public, they don't really believe it, or at least they recognize they don't have the evidence to claim that that's what took place in front of an actual judge in a court of law. Now, Rudy wasn't exactly perfect during the court appearance. He did stop short of saying we are alleging fraud because they aren't actually. But he did at one point suggest that some kind of Democratic mafia stole the election from Joe Biden. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. Rudy also apparently committed perjury. Rudy Giuliani submitted a petition to the court in which he wrote that he is a member in good standing of the Washington, D.C. Bar Association, when in reality, Rudy Giuliani is currently suspended from the D.C. Bar because, get this, he didn't pay his dues to the Washington, D.C. Bar. Isn't that just perfect? Trump doesn't pay his contractors, and lawyers worry Trump's not going to pay them. And Rudy didn't pay to remain part of the D.C. Bar, which led to him perjuring himself when he told the Pennsylvania court that he was a member in good standing of the D.C. Bar. Now, that's an aside. The question is, if you are not alleging fraud, why are you here? To make general points about elections? Because it sure as hell seems like you're here to try to overturn the results of the Pennsylvania election. And these lawyers that Donald Trump has working for him are not going to be able to get past any judge with a reasonable understanding of what they're doing. And so far, that's why everything is getting thrown out by court after court after court. And by the way, speaking of judges, this is why the Republican Party has been 110% focused, pedal to the metal during Donald Trump's presidency on getting as many loyalists into federal judge positions as possible. They know that on a lot of issues, the law is not on their side. So they prepare to corrupt the law by putting in place their cronies. And I hate to admit it, they've succeeded to a great degree. I've talked about this before. Mitch McConnell, I think, is a despicable guy. If you are a Republican, you see Mitch McConnell and you recognize this is the guy who has done an amazing job of installing hundreds of judges. I mean, if you go pre-Trump, it could even be, maybe it's even over 1,000. I don't know. Endless judges who are going to continue ruling in a partisan way, whether you've got a Democrat or a Republican in the White House, as we are very quickly going to see during the first couple of years of the Joe Biden administration. They have done a really good job. I think they're horrible. I think these judges are horrible. But if you are them, you have to look at Mitch McConnell and say this guy has been incredibly successful. And while the Trump scandals continue to rage, they keep putting judges in. Judges they didn't even stop during coronavirus. And it is something that we will have to contend with for a long time in the United States. And listen, if they had gotten more of them in, you might have actually seen some of these court cases about supposed voter fraud go in Donald Trump's favor. Maybe some still will. For now, they have not. Make sure you're following the David Pakman Show on Instagram at David Pakman Show. You can also follow me at david.pakman. We will take a quick break and be back with much more. If you love feeding your intellectual curiosity, but you're always struggling to find the time, check out one of my all-time favorite apps called Blinkist. Blinkist lets you consume an entire book on your way home from work. They take thousands of popular nonfiction books, condense each one into text or audio that you can get through in just 15 minutes, and you get all of the important core ideas and information from that book. It's perfect if you don't have enough time to do all the reading you want to do, or if you just want to sample a book before you buy the entire thing. I recently read A Brief History of Time, of course, by the great Stephen Hawking. This is a book that I have been aware of for so long, and other things got in the way, and it was fantastic to check it out on Blinkist. Blinkist has books on politics, philosophy, science. They have 27 different nonfiction categories, and a subscription is only about $8 a month, and you get the entire library. But you can try it totally free and get 25% off a subscription when you go to Blinkist.com/Pakman. I've put the link right underneath this video.